using my brain and having a job that would still require creativity and artistic ability. My version of my dream changed, but it's been a consistent designer, artist throughout my life. Welcome to this week's episode of Pickles and Pasta with Steph and Jay. And this week, our topic is, what is the version of you that didn't make it? And I think the natural tension that we want to talk about today is, do you honor the person you used to be, or do you secretly resent them? An interesting perspective, perhaps. What do you think, Mr. Schweid? What do you think about this topic today?
Honor the person I used to be. I don't even know who I am now. How am I supposed to know who I was before?
That could be a problem.
Well, is it that person that would have evolved into what I thought I was going to be? Is that kind of like where I was?
I think that's kind of something interesting to think about as, everybody's always talking about evolving and being your authentic self. And I think
I don't use that stuff. There's all these catchphrase mumbo jumbo.
I know. That's
garbage.
why it's kind of a fun thing to talk about.
I mean, look, I think, depending on where you want to go back in time, we all have had different things that we thought, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to be. This is how I see my life in this amount of time, years. I mean, we have that sort of stuff even like with your girls, like they'll talk about stuff like, well, I thought I was going to be here, or I thought this was going to happen then. And I think you realize as you navigate, first of all, nothing is promised. Tomorrow's not promised. And you could meet somebody, either a romantic relationship or a business opportunity or a friendship, and that could totally make you go this way. Maybe realize, wow, that's an interesting thing to do. I think it's different when you really put in the work to be something, and then that doesn't happen. Like the version that didn't make it. So like this is what I'm going to do. I've studied it. I've done this. I got the first job, whatever it is. I got the first job, or I started the first business, and then that doesn't work out. Okay, now you're in a different thing. Now you choose to be something else. Okay, do you have regrets? Do you like, no, that was supposed to happen? Because I think that to me gets interesting. I think it gets deeper. Did you imagine this is what you'd be doing? Like, I mean, it's interesting for you, really. I mean, I'm curious. I'm curious in general, as I think we've established that. But I told you that with my father, I used to drive him crazy, right? With the
I
curiosity.
can only imagine.
But you can't actually. I don't think.
Well, I kind of can.
No, I really don't think you can. There's like no level. You're lucky that Leo was there to take it for the team, because we would talk about something and I would say why, and he would tell me. I was like, how come? And then he would tell me again. I was like, why? And then how come? And I would do this like just like for hours, and he would be like, I can't. I mean, God bless him for sticking it through as long as he did. I would have given up by the third how come. And he just, God bless him, he just toughed it out. Anyway, I don't even know where I went with this.
You were curious about. Yeah.
Right. So you have always said that like you've been an artist your whole life, right? Like you were drawing and painting and doing stuff as a kid. So is there the version that didn't make it? Honestly? I mean.
Well, I mean, the way I would frame that, because obviously I saw this layout and I looked at it and
you did your homework.
I thought about it, prior to us coming on here today. And
that's another difference between us.
Like I was a little girl with a notebook drawing pictures of fashions and rooms. And so, even as a 10-year-old child, I dreamed about being a designer. I didn't dream about being a movie star or a rock star, all the other things that, people dream about when they want to grow up and be something famous. I dreamed about being a designer. And, yes, that has changed over the years, and a different version of a designer. It's definitely expanded and contracted over my lifetime, but the core identity is basically has stayed intact. I would say that when I was let's start that one over. In undergraduate, when I was at Penn State, I did switch over into wanting to become a fashion designer. So at Penn State, I was studying advertising. And when I graduated there, I was going on to Parsons, which was going to be studying fashion design. So that was probably the first time not an adult yet, but approaching adulthood where I decided, yes, I'm going to become a designer. And I had high hopes that I was going to make it big in the fashion design space, like pretty much right out of Parsons.
Yeah, because that's how it works.
So naive. That's how it always works, right?
but the advertising stuff, was that because you were designing before, so you wanted to be a designer, and you had said, I think I know we've talked about this, that advertising would kind of still give you that creativity. It wouldn't be like a job. I mean, it would be a job, but it would be like a creative job, and you understood it. You thought advertising was cool and all that sort of stuff. So it was kind of a way for you to use your creative skills in like a job. And then I guess you then was like, no, I want to go full on creative, like by being a designer. Was the advertising thing a bit of a, okay, my dream isn't going to be reality, I'm going to go do this. And then you realized, no, I am going to, you paused, right? You kind of, it's like you gave up. You kind of let me try this. Then you realize, okay, no, I really have to go for it. Now you have to go for being a designer. And that's when that happened.
Yeah, that is what happened. I didn't get the permission early on to go be an artist. I just didn't. I had an uncle who was an artist, and it was kind of looked down upon in my family. And I don't even think anyone really realized that, but that was the messaging I got as a young person, that you can, and there were a lot of creative people. Apparently my grandmother was a good artist. So I had a lot of creative people around me, but none of them chose to be an artist as their main thing. Even my uncle, who was an artist early on, switched over and founded a company, and did something in engineering. So it just wasn't a path that was that's okay to do. Yeah. And if that were the case, maybe I would have done that much sooner, but it just wasn't the case. And so, advertising was my way of using my brain and having a job that would still require creativity and artistic ability and, that kind of stuff. So, but to answer this question, maybe my version of my dream changed, but it's been a consistent designer artist throughout my life, honestly. Right. And,
the way things are now with social media and how marketing has evolved and all this other kind of stuff, is there a part of you that thinks maybe that advertising path might have been even more fun or even more successful or more do you ever kind of go back to think, I wonder what would have happened had I gone down that road?
No, I really don't. No, I don't at all.
Okay.
Honestly, I think I use that ability in my work as an artist.
You've referred to it. You've referred to it often. I learned this in school and I did this and this is what I know. I have a background in this. I think it has helped you for sure. There's no question. But it's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's part of the art and the design. It's, sure. Advertising is a creative. It's hitting you with the visual and it's hitting you with the correct copy that, is intriguing mixed
Right.
with the image.
Right.
And, you throw in other elements. Today, it's a real mixed bag and it's really expanding. But, I think that that's all really part of my art and design ability. So,
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting because it's like, this is an interesting topic, but like for you, it's a little bit different, right? Because you're doing, you're doing, there isn't like, I don't know. I mean, there isn't a version of you that is, you've just evolved. You just continue to evolve. It isn't like you said, you didn't want to be a rock star or this, there, that you wanted to be a designer. You are a designer. You are an artist. But you've done different things within that, right? Like your interior design is different than fashion design. Like you did, what was it, Andrew Mark or something? You worked for like
yes.
like a fashion house, really.
Yeah.
And then Have Some Fun Today is obviously different than that. Same, certain principles are similar, but, I think, yeah.
I mean, much, honestly. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I had the soft home furnishings brand. I mean, it's my entire career has been art and design, period.
But is there any one of those that you're like that you've ever fantasized about or thought about? Like, I wonder what would have happened if that would have taken off. Because obviously for example, if the home furnishing things would have taken off, Have Some Fun Today may or may not exist, or it may have existed in home furnishings, like you know what I mean? Like instead of where it went. Do you ever think of that?
I mean,
like I wonder what my life would have been. I wonder what my life would have been like if I would have done this. Like,
so here's the thing that I think I kind of come back to with all of this. With every iteration of design that I delved into, they all only went so far. If they had gone further, I think I would have been taken out of like the design process and more in the running the company process. And I think because that never fully happened to the extent where I just would have been a CEO, I just would have been then, running the company. And in these cases, they were all smaller. So it was very hands-on. So it was like I was constantly developing my design abilities, but just in different formats. And so like, even with Have Some Fun Today, you and I talked so much about our vision for the brand. Like once it got to this much bigger entity, and stuff just never happened. And so it always kind of made me go back to my roots and look at how else I can express myself with my creative abilities. So I don't know, I think that I'm meant to be in this hands-on creative creating space, not the space that is like, you're more administrative, creating the structure. And like, you know what I'm
bookkeeper.
saying.
My favorite thing, bookkeeping.
I don't mean it in that way, but like, you're not the guy at the drawing board designing the room or the bag. Like, I think that's where I'm meant to be. And when you start a brand, you're doing all of those things. And if it gets to a higher level, you end up not doing those things unless you hire someone to run the company. But that was never my mindset because I'm probably a control freak and always thought if it was my brand, I'd be running it. So
yeah, I think if any of the particular fashion things that you did, whether it was home furnishings or any of the other stuff or Have Some Fun Today, if those would have gotten to the next level, and because they all did well, right? But we're talking about like there's and there's
I sold to stores all over the country.
Yeah. There's right. There's and there's like,
and then there's like,
there's
become Ralph Lauren,
Lauren or Donna Karan or, I'm thinking of like whatever, something like
and
that.
I
right?
was competing with those people at that time because nobody else was doing it except for Ralph Lauren and then little designers like me. So
so if you would have gotten there, I don't think you would have fallen in to that CEO role. You would have fallen into the chief
Hired.
creative officer.
Yeah.
You would have hired, you would have still maybe had majority interest, in the company as far as an ownership perspective, and you would have been on the board and you would have been able to make those decisions and all that sort of stuff, but you would have been the creative person, like Zach Posen wasn't. I'm sorry that I mention him as often as I do. I had intimate knowledge. Him. Well, I had intimate knowledge of his operation, like I knew his mom. I knew his CMO, who was basically like the VP of the company. Like I knew the ins and outs of that company for a period of time. And Zach was the designer. Like Zach was not dealing with any of that other stuff. Like he had an infrastructure. I mean, his mom was like a tough woman and an experienced woman, and I think she was a lawyer, and good, bad, or indifferent, she obviously had his back.
Yes.
Other people on the team really had his back, and he could go fly. That was the whole idea. Let him fly, because having him worry about, how much the electric bill was not a good use of his time. So I think it would have been more like that for you. I think maybe a little bit more than you, but whatever. So yeah, it's interesting how these things evolve, quite frankly.
Yeah. And honestly, like I was never like, oh darn, and like got down to the dumps because one thing ended and a new thing started. I'm just not like that. I think you have to give yourself grace. Like for anybody listening to this that is trying to relate to maybe identities you had with things that you thought were going to happen in your life or in your career, give yourself grace, because, life is about evolving and things happen in the world, and we navigate what we do and how we contribute, and wasting time thinking about the past and what could have been or what you could have evolved to is just like that. It's a waste of time, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I mean, thinking through, this topic for the week, like I think about the multiple different things that I thought I was going to do or that I wanted to do from, throughout my, multi-thousand year journey. And, you've heard me say it often that like, working on the things we're doing now, which we're not there yet, but working on them and towards them, everything has led me to this. So even though they're different, very, very different things, and it's interesting, it's like this little thing could have turned that thing this way or turned that thing that way. And it's bizarrely interesting, like how these things happen and how different opportunities come to you. And, you at the time have to make these decisions regardless of your level of experience or regardless of whatever, we make various decisions. I mean, obviously there was the athletic dream that I had and really envisioned that happening. And again, within, being as realistic as I can be, I wasn't ever going to win Wimbledon, like ever. Just not a chance. Like maybe I would have done okay to maybe get in doubles or mixed doubles or something and maybe play a match or two at Wimbledon. I was never going to be Federer or Djokovic or there was no chance. I think I would have had a decent career. Like I would have been an okay middle of the road player at the time and made a decent living, and it would have been cool, but that clearly didn't work out. And there have been other things, but really I could have been in nightlife. Like I was this close to like owning nightclubs, like prior to the club that I was involved in as a managing partner, like a guy who was my friend who's like, let's do something together. And he had crazy money. And I was like, let's open a nightclub. Like we should open a nightclub. Like he liked to go out. I like to go out. I was like, we should do this. And he's like, there's no chance my family will ever give me the money for that. Like ever. Like, let's do something else. Like he's like, I agree with you, but I won't get the money for it. So had that happened, it would have been totally different. What my life would have been. Maybe we would have had a hit club, which would have led to who knows whatever.
Right.
So, but none of the stuff do I regret. Like I don't look back at any of it and being like, oh, that's what I was supposed to do, and like, I don't know. I don't think that's a healthy way to live in
Yeah,
general.
who wants to live that way? Let's just
Yeah,
say
I mean,
that.
certainly I look at things that I did and I'm like, okay, I probably should have done this thing instead of that thing. Not as a regret, but like as how do I learn from that? Like if
Hmm.
that situation were to come again, how would I react now? Like I do think of that, but it's more from an analytical. It's not from a
Hmm.
regret perspective. So, um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of little my 2 cents, 3 cents on that.
Yeah,
um, I mean, do you feel that with the different things you did, like, do you feel every one of those things that maybe didn't work out the way you thought they were, do you really learn something from it, or you really like just I didn't learn anything from it. It was something I did. What I learned is that I don't want to do it, or was it something like I learned and like, okay, I apply that thing in this new part of my life or in this new thing that I do. Do you have that sort of experience?
yeah. I mean, honestly, my takeaway from all of the things that I have, because I've created a lot of businesses in my
Yeah,
like
I know.
since I was like
It seems like not, but
since I
when you
was in
sit
my
down, yeah, it's a lot.
mid 20s.
Yeah, it's
Like
been a lot.
I was doing things that really surprised me. It surprises me now where I sit now that I was doing certain things at 25 years old. That where'd I get the confidence to do half this stuff is just fascinating to me. I mean, I think I have a lot of confidence, but like, how did I have it at 25 to walk into Bendel's or
Because at
ABC Carpet
25, you
and
don't
Home?
know better. At 25, you don't get you get nervous about different things. I mean, I
Yeah,
did it. I
I
went
know.
to
And
a
I just, but you think about 25-year-olds now, I mean, a lot of people are very confident on the internet, but that's a really different thing than actually walking into an
no
established
100%.
fabulous store and being like, hey, I got something to show you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I went toe to toe with the CEO of Wilson Sporting Goods. Like, I mean, Wilson fucking Sporting Goods. Like, that's not like some tiny little I've never heard of them company. Like
Yeah.
this guy came to see me, putsy little me, okay? And I'm
And you were
telling
how
him
old? How old were you when this happened?
22, 3, sub 4, 20 something. He's coming to see me.
Most kids are still living with their parents in the basement,
Yeah, I know. He's coming to see me, and I'm telling him what to do. It was just the most ridiculous. I mean, I look at it back now, like how, and I did get yelled at by my advisor afterwards. He's like, "Can't talk to people like that." But everybody at Wilson was scared of me after. Like,
That's
so,
hysterical.
but I didn't do it to be rude. He was feeding me bullshit, and I
Yeah.
called him out on it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he really did. But fast forward, I'm not sure if he's still alive. I don't mean that in a bad way, but like we reconnected many, many, many years later, like on LinkedIn, and he was nothing but nice to me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously I was respectful to him and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you learn from these things, right? Like,
I've learned from every single thing, and it just kind of goes in the bucket of all the things that I've experienced, why I can give people advice, why I can navigate tricky situations with some grace and not let it destroy me, but like actually let it enhance what I bring to the table. And, I feel pretty good about where I stand today. I mean, I know there are some loose ends still hanging around for certain things that I'm doing, but in
sure,
general, my focus
yeah,
is I'm very focused on what I am doing today. And I feel like every single aspect of the different design businesses, because they've been everything. I've designed furniture, I've designed outdoor spaces, I haven't designed an actual house like an architect, but I've designed almost every component of things that you can
yeah,
design that go into living a beautiful life,
yeah. Yeah.
So
Do you find that as you go through these things and you go from like one thing or another, do you find that timelines, like as far as like how long this should take or what your expectations are of things, has that evolved at all, or have you felt that, like, you know what I mean? Like when you do something and you're like, well, this should take this time or this should take that time. And so you have an expectation and like you set a goal and then you don't achieve it and then you get frustrated. Like, do you feel like part of that process of learning and like letting go of a pressure that you put on yourself because you kind of have a different outlook on what you're working on? So it's like, okay, this might take a little longer, but that's okay because I'm supposed to do this. It's supposed to take this long. It's okay.
Yes. Yeah, no problem. Like actually, after I had my last solo show in February, I created in my head a little timeline of 2 years. I just gave this number, but it's probably spot on, of the amount of time that I'm going to take for myself to create a new body of work. And it's probably exactly where it should be right now. We're probably about 6 months in. And if I give it the full 2 years, I will be in a very, very good position to pretty much write my own ticket with the art that I'm doing. And I know it. Like I don't feel nervous about it. I don't feel like, anxious about it. I'm just like, this is cool.
But you wouldn't have been able to do that. You wouldn't have been able to do that like when you were doing your interior design business, like at that stage of your career, you probably wouldn't have been able to do that as easily.
No, I didn't have a clue because I wasn't really painting again then. I didn't start painting again in a serious way until I was like really into the interior design, and like the art just kept on like popping into my head until finally I had to make a space in my house at the time to paint because I just couldn't take it anymore. You know, when you have to do something, you find a way to do it. So
100%.
Yeah, that's 100%. Where I was with that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that, I don't know, because on the one hand, I feel like I'm putting more pressure on myself than I may have. I mean, I've always put a lot of pressure on myself, always. But certain timelines I kind of see a little bit differently, even though I'm rarely satisfied with the amount of time something takes. I kind of maybe a little more realistic about certain things. So as much as I might not like it, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe I've just learned how to deal with it differently. Maybe I've learned how to deal with something that used to maybe really drive me crazy. And now I'm like, well, you already are crazy, so there's no reason to keep driving. Like, I don't know if that's part of it. I don't know. Like most people, and we've had these conversations, but I say something about something I'm working on or something I was doing, and people are like, I would have given up here, or I would have given up there. Like, wow, I'm telling them like this long-winded story if they get me in one of those kind of moods, and and they're like, wait, okay, but so you gave up then? I'm like, no, the story's I'm not done. I'm still working on this, or that's happening, and they're like, yeah, I can't do that. I
think when you have a dream as big as you do, and I also have a very big dream, but my timeline doesn't have an ending, except for when I end.
Yeah.
Your timeline is different because you are creating something that the world needs, like as soon as possible. And in my mind, there is a timeline on that, just because, we don't want this to be made at the very end of your life because you have to be really involved in this. So I feel like it's more urgent. There's more urgency in what you're doing. I don't feel the urgency in what I'm doing. I feel like relaxed, actually, because I'm not trying to be anything other than what I already am. And I'm not.
That's a song. That's a song. Whose song is that? Yeah.
It'll be my song.
That's Gavin's. That's one of Gavin's songs.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's
something.
Cool.
I don't want to be anything other than. Oh fuck! I'm sorry, Gavin. Sorry. Not that.
But it takes a long time to get to that place in your life where you're comfortable with that. Like yes, I do feel an urgency in terms of like my life. Like I'm a certain age. You only have so long to live.
Speak for
I don't
yourself.
expect to be living into my hundreds, but hey, I'm open to that as long as my brain is intact. But you know what I'm saying. So like, I know what I'm doing. I'm so stoked to be able to do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Your thing is different. I do think there's more urgency for you, and I'm here to help.
I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you. I don't know. I look, I've been working on that of like balancing the urgency so I don't get like too, pissed off or stressed out if something doesn't happen on time, but also being realistic about like just the way things work and the way the universe flows. And it's little things about like you sometimes you can do something too soon. And it's not that this is too soon. Like this, if this would have happened 5 years ago, that would have been great. If it happens tomorrow, that'll be great. If it happens in 6 months, that'll be great. If it happens in a year, that'll be great. I mean, it's going to happen. So I don't have any question in my mind about it happening. So I don't know. I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people do put time limits on things, and I don't know that that's very healthy. But yeah,
Well, I think
yeah,
that they don't. Let's look at that. I mean, a time limit for a lot of people is because they want to get on with their life and they don't enjoy this process. And this is a tough process. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. You
yeah.
know, formulating a huge platform until you have that funding, it's brutal. You
Yeah, it's
know,
not the fun. It's not definitely not the fun part. Yeah, it's definitely not the fun part.
it's a
Yeah,
brutal thing. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's not full of vacations and $1,000 dinners. You know,
yeah. No, that's for sure.
it's the real work.
Do you feel do you feel there was ever anything that you really resisted as you were going through it, then it was the right thing for you to do? Like, was there like a path that you resisted and then turned out like, oh, actually that worked out pretty well? Or do you feel like when you resisted, but like if you push back on something, people are like, no, you got to do this, you got to do this, and you're like, it's not right that you were right? Or do you feel like it surprised you and be like, I didn't get it, but now I get it? You ever feel there was anything like that ever happened
I
to you?
mean, as you're saying that question, I kind of feel that a little bit right now because I still have some fun today and I have no intention of closing it. I'm trying to evolve it, but I'm also not putting like a ton of energy into it because I know that my energy is finite. And so when people are confused that I'm not seeming to like put so much energy into new content or new stuff, I feel that like I am resisting the people that are pushing me towards that because I know myself better and I know my history better than somebody else. So I am resisting certain things right now, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I find that we tend to hear different things from different people, right? So like you and I have talked about this where like somebody will say something to you and you'll be like, that makes no sense whatsoever. I'm not going to do that ever. And then someone else says the same exact thing to you and you do it. And I'm not saying I'm different or better. I've seen that with so many different people where like you give somebody a piece of advice or I give somebody a piece of advice and they totally were like, no, or they fight. And someone else tells them literally the same thing, even with the same words. And like they come running to you and they'll be like, oh my God, so-and-so gave me the best advice I've ever gotten in my life. And you're like, that's genius. I'm so happy for you. And I don't know, I guess I was just wondering or thinking about like, did you ever like resist something and then realize like, maybe I shouldn't have resisted that. But I'm guessing with you, not really, not so
I
much.
can't think of anything as you're saying that to me. Like nothing is coming into my head.
It's totally fun. Yeah.
I mean, if you're thinking of something, please
I was
share.
Thinking about it myself. No, it was in our notes as something to think about. And so I was thinking about it. I mean, look, I definitely dance to my own beat. I always have. Every company I've ever had, and that's on me. We've struggled I don't mean that it sounds very negative, but hear me out. We've struggled to use existing tools or methodology or systems because every business I've ever had is a little bit different. And I know everybody says that. So fine. Congratulations. But, you know, when we built the database that we had to build for the tennis company for JCS, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to the store and buy some software at the time when that's how you bought software and, get on my bicycle and drive home. Bicycles. Or get on my horse and carriage and ride back home. But, and plug it in and use it. And it just didn't exist. It just didn't exist. And we've run into that in so many different businesses. They're like, oh, well, just use this thing for reservations. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that and it can't do this. And then that person doesn't do that. And this person's always complaining about that. Like, I don't want to do that. And it's the same with, whether it was a shelving unit that we needed for something or whatever, or desk or something. So I've just kind of always been in that space. And there's times that I'm like, maybe I pushed that too far. Like maybe I'm creating so much work for myself. And I had this conversation with someone who's a very dear friend who I truly respect earlier today. I was like, well, this is what I'm thinking of doing. He's like, why are you doing that? Like just get this thing. It's right there. It's fine. It's globally accepted. Put your energy elsewhere. And even though I respect him beyond, and I'm really trying to listen to that advice, there's still a part of me in the back of my ridiculous head that's like, no, I got to build it. So I don't know. I think there's something to be said, as maybe a piece of advice or guidance to people, like, think about the things that you're so adamantly against. Like maybe that's a path you shouldn't be so negative about. Maybe that's a path you should maybe try exploring a little bit before you just throw it out. Like, I don't know, just maybe a thought.
No, I mean, that's a valid suggestion. It really is. I mean, I was with a friend last night. We were talking about have some fun today. And it was kind of sharing my dilemma around it, and that, I have no intention of closing it, but I'm not putting full energy into it. And she was like, just get some young interns that would kill to have an internship, and you can approve the things that they come up with. And, I've been very reticent about that stuff because I've had so many bad experiences with hiring marketing companies that I couldn't stand the stuff they created. And so but that night I was like, maybe she has a point there, Yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes you're open to things when other times you just haven't been, and maybe you just have to get it in the right mindset to be open to something.
I think that's a lot of it too. It's not necessarily even the advice; it's the timing of the advice. Is your brain available? And I've learned over the years from different people that I've either mentored or guided or managed or whatever, that like sometimes it's not the right time to tell them. Sometimes you got to get this through to them, but maybe today's not the right day, or maybe this month isn't the right month, but know it and then wait for the opportunity and do it. So, yeah, I mean, look, I like we said at the top of this, this episode, like, I don't think neither of us look at life with regrets. I think the journey we're on is the journey we're supposed to be on. We can fantasize all we want about like what would have been, if I would have been the king of nightlife, or a world-class tennis player, or God knows what else, a tambourine player in a circus, like, all the different things that I've dreamt of being. Fashion designer was one of, fashion designer was,
you told me that one time.
I was really, 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 really wanted to do that. I really, really, really wanted to do that. So, but, it did something. It sprinkled a little something into the different things that I became and am or will become, or who knows what I'm going to be in the next 100 years. Like that's a nice way of putting it. Actually, I like that.
these little dreams that we have along the way, sprinkle in a little magic into our, the moments that we're creating, whatever it is we're in the moment creating, and let that evolve, and you get someplace in your life and you can kind of see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. But now you got me, because you said sprinkles, and sprinkles makes me think of rainbow sprinkles, which makes me think of Mr. Softy, and I can't get my Mr. Softy. So we're going to end before I start crying, because I haven't had any Mr. Softy this season, and I'm very sad about that right now. So don't be sad. Go get some Mr. Softy and sprinkles. Tell me how great it is. Or get any sort of ice cream or dessert or something you want. Enjoy life. Enjoy the summer. Have some fun today. And no matter what, make sure you tune in next week for the next episode of Pickles and Pasta with Steph and Jay. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great week. Bye.